Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back to the show. Lori Varsames is back joining us today as a personal and professional coach. The name of her company is her name, Lori Varsames Coaching. And if you want to check out more about her, go to the website as we speak today, LORIVARSAMES.com, based out of beautiful Sonoma, California, but helping people all around the globe. Welcome back. How are you today?
Great. Thanks for having me again. This
Well,
has
good
been
to
fun.
see you. As always, as a coach, I mean, you help a lot of people. I know we have a specific topic for today, those in our early midlife crisis in the 30s. But give me an overview of the type of people you help for new timers tuning in today for your show.
Yeah, I help leaders, entrepreneurs, and professionals of all kinds step out of overwhelm and stagnation of during the midlife years and help them create lives of freedom, adventure, and choice. It's something I started doing during the pandemic when I started focusing on midlife during the pandemic because I was seeing so many of the people that I love who were my age. Really, there's no guidebook for life to begin with, but there's certainly not one for midlife. And although there are more and more books out about it as we speak, but yeah, we need more help at this time of our lives because our bodies are changing, our hormones are changing, our goals and our dreams and our values are changing, and a lot of times we don't really have time to entertain the thoughts of what do we want next because we're really surviving. We're either caretaking children or elderly parents, or at the onset of our own health challenges, and a lot of times at the peak moment of our careers when more is being demanded of us at any other time. So this is a real age for burnout and stress and overwhelm. And when we do step into intention and start creating lives that we want, magical things happen. We get to cast off the shackles of our youth and all of the shoulds, and we start living the life that we want.
And today you're saying that a lot of us women out there a little earlier are getting a little more burnt out dealing with some midlife crises, right? Could you elaborate on what's happening?
Totally. Yeah. I'm seeing a lot of young people who, particularly a lot of go-getters who are going through their 20s. They're hitting their career hard right out of the gates. They're going through all of the paces and stepping up the corporate ladder. But they get to age 33 is kind of the magical age where, and I'd say most of my clients who are in my 30s are exactly at age 33 or very close to it. It's an age where there's a lot of shifting going on. I went through it myself, and so I'm particularly sensitive to young women who are going through it because they're in the process of checking life's boxes, or I should say American society's boxes, and they're saying, wait a second, this doesn't feel good. I thought this was supposed to feel good. I should be farther along in my personal fulfillment if I've done this and I've gotten to this point in my career and I'm earning this amount of money. And so it's really a great chance for a reset. I call it the early midlife crisis. And I think that, I don't want to jinx myself. I'm only 50, but, I think that the bulk of my hard work in my midlife years has really been largely mitigated by the fact that I went through some early changes in my 30s. That's really helped make these years, which are already unpredictable, a little bit more palatable.
Thank you. And it's interesting how we are experiencing this type of stuff a little earlier in life. What do you think it is about society that has changed us from being a little more overwhelmed at a younger age? Finances, the cost of life,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Student loans. I think kids are graduating and for those who do go to college, they are graduating and not able to find jobs. So the ones that do want it, they go for it, but they do it at the expense of their personal health and mental health and stress. A lot of a lot of my clients in their 30s are really the same character profile and demographic of the one, well, maybe not the age demographic, but the personality demographic of my clients in midlife because
Yeah.
they're people pleasers or want to be recovering people pleasers. They're perfectionists. They are seeing that society is telling them that to be a good girl, this is what you have to do. If you want to be any kind of success as a woman in the career field, then you have to do it harder and stronger than other men um, in order to be seen and taken seriously, which also means that there's a burnout rate. There are more and more young women who are delaying or even foregoing the choice to have children or get married. And for those who are thinking about having kids, it can be a really stressful time because they're saying, "Well, wait a second. I'm at this point in my career. Do I want kids? I'm going to have to give more time if I have kids. I'm already stressed out." I have clients who
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of early health problems because they are stressing their bodies out so much trying to keep up with the rat race.
Gosh, well, yeah, that describes a lot of us, and I'm in my 40s, but yeah, I agree. Um,
Yeah,
and we're talking today obviously about I should say, well, it's ladies only though, right? In our midlife crisis, men go through it
yeah.
too, but what are, some of the things we're starting to do, checking those life boxes, right?
Yeah, checking the life boxes. We've been taught, especially our generation, Jill, that we should have the 2.5 kids, the white picket fence, and the career and the dog. And our generation was fortunate that our moms were often working,
Yep.
um, but they taught us, the magazines taught us, the TV shows taught us, you can have it all. And the truth is, you can't. Not if you want balance in your life. You can if you want to run rampant and overachieve at your own expense. But I don't think for most people, that's sustainable. It either if you one area of your life
Mm-hmm.
is out of balance, then it has it comes at one if one area of your life is doing well, it normally comes um, at the expense of another area not doing well.
Yep. And you mentioned age 33, you said is kind of
Yeah.
the age. What is that all about?
Well, it's kind of funny. I Do you mind if I share a personal story?
Please.
When I was 33, I was coming back from grad school in France. I really took the 2 years that I was there to reset. Hopefully, I was trying to recalibrate and maybe find, I was in the wine business trying to find a job in France. I saw that it was very an uphill battle, both as a woman and as an American, to get involved in the French wine business in France. And so I said, I'm going to go back to the United States, but I'm not going to do my East Coast rat race. I was working 120 hours a week before I went to grad school, traveling from Miami to Manhattan, oftentimes in the same week, and not having much of a life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I moved a friend gave me a tip on a job opening at a school in New Mexico, and I moved there. I got the job, I moved there. And within, 24 hours of leaving France, I found myself, in the middle of nowhere in northern New Mexico. Beautiful, but culturally very different than what I had experienced. And I was a huge learning curve. And I went there for lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
and had, got my butt kicked by life lessons, had all sorts of health problems, was the onset of chronic pain. I found a lump in my breast, which was fortunately benign. Was learning all sorts of life lessons because I had decided to choose differently. And didn't get a lot of support from my family who thought I was nuts. What are you doing? Come back east. This is crazy.
Oh,
Um, and what's interesting, a friend told me, she said, "Oh, how old are you?" I said, 33. She said, "Oh, that's the year of Muhammad, Buddha, and Jesus's enlightenment." And astrologically, I think it's called, if I'm getting this right, Pluto squared. I can't tell you what that means, but it
okay.
really, and not in astrological terms, but it is a time when we are starting to. It's an early time when we start questioning our values. And so while we do question our values in midlife, we question them far less if we actually listen to the callings in our 30s, because that's the first time that we're independent, we're living,
Yeah.
in a different place than our parents, we're making new rules for ourselves, we're not in our 20s anymore, so we're not hitting it hard on the party circuit the same way, or you know we're a little bit more focused and grounded, and it's a time where you're like, wait a second, I'm doing all the things. Why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? And so you start realizing, I'll give you one value. For example, I was taught, I was, from an Italian American family, and loyalty is a big word. It's a value in our family that you don't go against the family, you don't talk outside the family, all of the things. You show up for the family. Well, while those things that, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, while there's a lot of good to that, I also had been laid off 3 times by the time I was 33, and
Wow.
had been promised, to be a junior partner, and,
Mm-hmm.
I would work for my shares in the company and all the things. And you give people loyalty on the job front. And, frankly, it's our generation who realize that no, you're not going to get it. And so when we want all the things and we think that we can have a full and prosperous career and have a great relationship with our kids and have a balanced life and be healthy and have the dog and cook our dinners at home and write all of the things, it's like, no, no, you can't. And stop demanding that of yourself, because it's killing you softly.
It so is. Yeah, there's a lot going on for us. Wow, I didn't know all that. So 33-year Jesus Muhammad. I'm gonna write that down. I just copy and paste it
Yeah.
from your notes. Okay. And it's a scary place and time. And I feel like nowadays, though, I feel like we're a lot of us are not as independent, I don't think, anymore. I feel like people are staying home longer, right, with their families. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but it's
Right.
hard to afford things out there. So how does that affect things? I feel like we're not as financially stable as we were 20 something years ago when we were younger.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot on the line now. Either you hit it hard and you demand a lot of yourself and put a lot of on your pressure on yourself to fit in corporate America, or you creep up slowly and realize that you're not rising and you're also not able to pay your bills. I mean, um, San Francisco is 45 minutes away from here, and it's impossible to, I mean, a studio apartment, this was pre-pandemic. I can't tell you what it is now, but it's like 3,200 dollars for a studio apartment in downtown San Francisco. I mean, who can afford that?
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's worse in New York, right? It's the same thing, that you've got, that our workforce is out of balance. We want them to be close. We want them in back. So many more companies are asking workers to come back into the office,
Yeah.
but now people are making really hard decisions. Well, I don't want to commute. That's
Hmm.
not, I don't want to waste 3 hours of my day commuting. And that's really what it is. And the pandemic really turned all of that on its head. There are still plenty of remote jobs, which make it possible to, stay at home and live with mom and dad for a few years while you're building. But then, then there's a whole field of kids that, some of my older clients are talking about within their family structures, who are, having failure to launch problems. They don't
Hmm.
feel enabled. They don't feel empowered. They
Yeah.
feel overwhelmed by the world that they're walking into. We certainly haven't made things easier for them, have we?
Not at all. Uh-uh. And can we talk about some of the benefits of coaching, of course? And
Yes. Yeah, I mean, coaching is fabulous. I love it. If for those who don't know about coaching, it's based on positive psychology. It's a profession that really launched in the 1990s, and it's starting to become more and more regulated now. The International Coaching Federation is one of the regulating bodies. Um, Whatever coach you seek out, definitely make sure that they're certified, because there are a code of ethics that you need to follow. But if therapy is how the past
Yeah.
influences the present, coaching really is how the present influences the future you want. And a lot of clients come to me not knowing what the future is, but knowing that the present sucks. So they're really looking for new solutions. So coaching can really help because we do a lot of mindfulness practices. I ask all of my clients to at least try a meditation practice, and I teach them a little bit about that, so it's not daunting. Some clients prefer uh, journaling. We do visualizations. There are a lot of affirmations and breath work that are part of that. But more than anything, it's really about learning how to get out of your own way. When you come to coach with a problem, and let's say it's a problem about another person, they're going to bring it back to you instantly. We're not there to coach other people and the problems. We're there to coach the person and the whole person. So we talk about really what's meaningful, what lights you up, what holds you back, um, what habits you have, good and bad, and what could you adopt? What good habits could you adopt to replace bad habits? Um, what's the mindset behind, what are the narratives we have about certain things, whether it's work or relationships or life, and a coach is there to really kind of poke at you gently and lovingly and help you to kind of step outside of the box and think a little differently.
And we need to remind everyone how we can contact you specifically, if you don't mind.
Yes, you can reach me at coach@lorivarsames.com or at lorivarsames.com. LORIVARSAMES.
Beautiful. And what are things maybe we should start doing? Speaking
Mm,
up for ourselves, stop
yes,
people pleasing. What are some of those things on
yes,
your list?
yes. Oh my gosh, that's the biggest one. Recovering from people pleasing is probably the hardest thing for most women because there's so many stigmas when we don't. But a couple of tips might be learn to say no when you mean yes, and learn to say yes when you mean no. Um, to be mindful of your boundaries. Where's your energy going? If you find yourself overwhelmed, stressed, or burned out, chances are your energy is
Yeah.
going out in a one-way direction. So it's like, what can I cut out of my what people and so-called obligations can I cut out of my calendar to make room for what matters most? Thinks what happens is we have stories about who we should be, who we need to be for others, either in our community. I mean, most of the women in communities and most volunteers in communities are women, as if we have more to do, right? More time on our hands. And so it's really about saying yes to things that are meaningful, saying no to things that are sucking dry. And, if I can recommend a book, one of my favorite books to recommend to my clients is the Book of Boundaries by Melissa Urban. She's the founder of the Whole 30, and she's brilliant. She was a former addict, and she starts by saying, no one knows better about the lack of boundaries than an addict. And so, thinking of people pleasing as an addictive behavior, it's really easy to see how, oh, well, we're going to get what we need. People will like us. And so, let's just make it easy for them. Well, what happens is you start losing yourself in the process.
Mm, huh. Yeah, we've all done that, right? Now,
Totally.
just a little of your background for those that don't know, if you don't mind, why you're here helping others like this.
Oh gosh, I had my own aha moment about career. I had a career in marketing and sales for many years. I still am doing that work, but I had an aha moment in the early COVID and decided to go back to school. And for coaching, I was watching family members and friends suffering, having to sheepishly admit that they loved their children, but they hated the homeschooling, they hated parenting. Our generation is really redefining what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a woman in midlife, and what it means to be a career woman. And, we need to start having these dialogues and starting to shake up societal norms and dump them on their head. And I think that there's a lot out there. I mean, women are still making less than men in the workplace, even less if you're a woman of color. And we need to start speaking up for that. Like you were saying before, speak up, being mindful, and, for lack of a better word, stop taking shit.
Yep.
It doesn't necessarily, being a truth teller doesn't necessarily make you popular, but it does help you sleep better at night.
Damn right. We could say anything. um, love how we just let things
So,
go. We're able to. All right. All right.
but yeah, I mean, I offer a lot of different coaching packages. One of them is just the classic one-to-one coaching, which I think is great. And I ask for a commitment of 6 months, and that's 12 sessions, 2 sessions a month to give you time to really process and integrate work in between sessions. I also offer group coaching a couple of times a year. That is specifically for women in midlife. And I am starting to do some organizational coaching to help kind of change our corporations, change mindsets around work and wellness.
Got it. And I think a little preview for next time, we're going to talk about the workplace. And
Yes.
sometimes, a lot of times it could be toxic.
Hmm.
Is it better that some of us are able to work from home now and do a hybrid, or do you think it's still important that we need that toxic workplace experience because it'll guarantee to happen anywhere you work? I don't know. Have you ever
Oh
been to a
gosh.
job at a job that there was no toxicity at all?
No.
See, it always happens. I'm not bumming y'all
And that's
out there, but it's true. It's true.
well, it also depends what kind of person you are too, Jill. Like I used to be a very extroverted person. The older I get, the more introverted I get, and the more I need my downtime in order to recharge. I personally think I'm more productive working from home. When I'm in an office, I end up chit chatting with people, or I get lost on down tangent tunnels that I just can't recover from. But that's me, and I can see that certain corporations want to create a culture, but they should have been thinking about the culture before the pandemic. That's
Yeah.
kind of what I believe. It's like, come on now. But yeah, I really don't think an office environment is conducive to healthy, authentic behavior.
Oh, well, let's work on that for next time. That's our topic,
You
right?
got
It's
it.
going to be
You got it.
toxicity in the workplace. And
You got it.
let's wrap up for today. Remind us how we can contact you.
Yep. You can email me at coach@lorivarsames.com or schedule a free 30-minute chemistry call on my website at lorivarsames.com. It's LORIVARSAMES.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure having you here. Good to see you. And thanks for today, as
Likewise.
always.
Yeah,
And the
thank you,
reminder
Jill.
about Zoom. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.